93 WIBC. I'm Rob Kendall. Let's bring in John Jacob. He is an Indiana House representative. He's a Republican. He represents District 93, and you've heard me mention him many times on this show. He's one of just a couple guys in the Republican supermajority in either the House or the Senate who over the past 2 years has consistently stood up for you, your liberties, your freedoms, and most importantly, stood up to the governor. John, how's it going? Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, it's going great, Rob. Thank you for having me on.
You know, you have been, as I said, you, Kurt Nicely, maybe a couple others, but certainly not with the level of consistency that you two have stood up to the Republican Party, have stood up to Holcomb, whether it has been on the liberty and freedom issue, whether it has been on mask mandates, whether it has been on shutdowns, whether it has been on these massive budgets and taxes. That can't be easy to be one of a couple guys that is willing to stand against your party.
No, it's not. Because, I mean, really, Kurt and I are not wanting to willfully stand against our party. Really, we'd rather just that our party does what the party platform should be doing. And that's something I told my other colleagues in the Republican caucus. They just need to do what the Republican platform says, but they don't.
You know, it's so interesting you said that because I'm in an email correspondence right now with someone who got mad at me the other day because I said the party platform doesn't matter because most of them don't listen to it. And you've timed this perfectly. We didn't even discuss this. That's right? I mean, the party platform in Indiana means nothing now because the Republicans have totally just ignored it.
Yeah, I mean, it means something to me. I mean, when I took office, I made an oath before God to uphold the U.S. and state constitution and the laws of the state, and in that order, I mean, my oath is to uphold the U.S. and state constitution. Those are the two first primaries, and with that, to me, the Republican platform, and it's a good and just and right platform. It's just sadly, it's just that the vast majority of Republicans ignore it. I take that really seriously, and I don't.
All right, John Jacob is our guest. He represents Indiana House District 93. That's the south side of Indianapolis. It's part of Johnson County. And for your troubles, John, of standing up for the people over the party, you have been given a primary challenge by the Indiana Republican establishment. They really don't like you.
No, I think they've made it pretty clear that they want me out of there. They've had multiple people they've been trying to put into that position to primary against me. One person ended up started running, ended up stepping out of the race because of some issues in his life. They tried to gerrymander the district to make sure that they had former Representative Kirchhofer. She chose not to run, and now they've tried to, I know that they were moving around trying to get people to run against me, and they finally found somebody that was willing to run.
And they're going to put big money, they being the establishment donors, the people that Holcomb and Hupfer and those guys like. They're going to put big money behind this person because they want you out.
Oh, absolutely. There was already in Indiana Legislative Insight, it already came out that they were going to put almost a $500,000 commitment, and that's already, I've seen that at least publicly.
Isn't that sick that these guys being Holcomb and Hupfer and their buddies are so insecure that one guy stands up and says, I don't really agree with this, and I'm going to do what I told the people I'm going to do instead of support you. And this is their response. We'll gerrymander the district, we'll recruit a candidate, we'll put big money behind him. That's sick.
Oh, it's very sick. I mean, I've told him, and I'm a pretty simple type of guy. I'm not, I'm what you see is what you get. I mean, I know that people that don't know me very well, they may say, oh, he's a typical politician. I'm not. I don't look at myself as a politician. I look at myself as being a statesman. And to me, a statesman is looking for the next generation and the present generation and looking for the people, and that we're to serve the people, not have them serve us, and which is what I see is that these people and the political elites that are in power, they want the people to serve them and tell them what to do.
John Jacob is our guest. By the way, if people like what they're hearing today, because we got to keep you there. I mean, there's not many like you, John, who have been willing to stand up to the governor consistently for the people. If people want to learn more about your re-election campaign, how can they do that?
They can go to my website, voteforjohnjacob.com, and they can also go to my political page, John Jacob for State Representative on Facebook. Hit the like button on that. You can track with me to see what I'm doing as I'm running up towards a primary election here on May 3rd. I'll be putting a lot of stuff out on my political page, and then I'll be updating my my website to correspond with the present primary election.
When you ran the last time, because your victory, your election initially was kind of deemed an upset, you did it because you outworked the opponent. That's what everybody told me, is that nobody worked harder than John Jacob in terms of getting to doors and getting to people. And no matter who they run against you, that's not going to change. And your record is so solid. You have such a great message to tell people. I stood up for you even when it wasn't easy. You're going to work again, and I think if you do that, I think you're going to be okay.
Well, Lord willing, Rob, I mean, I'm praying that way. I was praying the first time, and I believe that albeit that I believe that, yes, I worked hard and I did everything I could to be elected. I believe ultimately it was God that got me in. And if I'm going to get in again, I believe it's going to be God that's going to get me in again. But the bottom line is though I do believe that in conjunction with that, I believe I need to work hard. I need to get my message out to the people, through literature, and I also need to be pounding doors to make sure that people understand, where I stand and that I'm willing to stand for them.
John Jacob is our guest. He represents right now the south side of Indianapolis and Greenwood because he stood up to the governor and to the Indiana Republican establishment. He's been gerrymandered into a district where he'll have a Republican primary challenge. So what's up? Let me ask you this. What's up with your fellow Republicans? Why are they so afraid of Holcomb? I remember in 2020 when the elections were going on, I heard from so many people, you send me there and I'm going to challenge Holcomb. We'll fix those mandates. We'll fix those lockdowns. We'll fix the shutdowns. And 2 years later, they have refused time and again to take on Holcomb. Why are so many Republicans in the legislature so afraid of Eric Holcomb?
Rob, I don't know that it's so. That's a good question. I'm not so sure that they're afraid of Eric Holcomb, albeit that they do bow down to him and kiss the ring. I think the bigger issue is that there's just a lot of peer pressure within political circles to conform. I mean, the pressure is just
like high school.
It is beyond high school. It's amazing. I've been in a lot of different circles ministry-wise and endured a lot of abuse. But I tell you what, I've never endured the kind of abuse that goes on in the political circles. And I've talked with some of my colleagues. I'm like, how hard is this? It's always right to do right, and it's always wrong to do wrong. And they'll give lip service, and they'll say, yes, you're right. And then they'll have this sigh, and it's kind of like, but I just can't. As one of my colleagues said, John, I don't have the gumption that you do. They don't have the backbone to just stand up to them and say no.
Isn't that sad that they need to be there? Like, you strike me as the type of guy, you're there because you want to help people, you want to do what's right. If it ended tomorrow, well, it was a good experience, but I always did what was right. So many of these people need to be in politics, and that is so sad and weird.
Oh, it is very sad and weird. And I won't name any names, but this is the epitome of something that I heard the other day. One of my Republican colleagues was retiring. And I've heard this comment essentially from this person before, but he said when he leaves here that he was going back to be a nobody. And I was flabbergasted. I was ticked off. I thought, how dare you say something like that? You know what? I'm somebody now. I'm a child of God. I am a father, a grandfather. I'm a husband. I am somebody before I ever became a state representative. And if I leave and I don't get reelected, you know what? I will continue to be a somebody. I'm not going to be a nobody. I mean, how dare you call the people, what you're saying is that the people are nobodies.
That's the thing, right? There's so much disdain from the Republicans in Indiana. And look, the Democrats would do it too if they were in charge, but they're just never in charge of anything. There's so much disdain for regular people. It's amazing.
It's sickening. I mean, really. The bottom line is, I think this is, and I was thinking about that this morning, that exact issue, and I was thinking, what is the essence of all that? And really, the bottom line is, did you come there to truly serve the people, or did you come there to be served?
Yeah.
And to me, I look at them that although they say they're servants of the people, I look at them that they've come to be served, not to serve. And to me, I've come there to serve, not to be served.
John Jacobs, our guest, couple of minutes left with him. He's the Indiana State Representative, District 93. That's southern Marion County, part of Johnson County. Okay, so what happened with the anticritical race theory bill? I've sat in multiple school board meetings where I've heard parents get up, give specific instances, specific teachers. This stuff is absolutely being taught. The nation's largest teachers union says not only are we doing it, we're going to do it more. Indiana's a part of that. So there's no denying this is taking place. And yet the Republican Party just said, well, too bad. Your kid's going to still be taught that they're guilty and that they're a bad person based on the color of their skin. Why? Why is that still a thing in a Republican supermajority government?
Because, number one, House Bill 1134 died. It's dead. And even then, it got watered down. It was a weak bill as it was, but it got watered down even further. I had an anti-CRT bill, a ban on CRT bill, and mine was much, much stronger, but it died in committee. But anyway, the bottom line is this. It's the teachers union is the largest union in the United States, and it has an immense amount of pressure on the Republican supermajority in this state. I mean, and I'm going to distill down one conversation to try to give a picture of this. I had one of the Republican leaders come in last session, and he was just ticked off, mad, angry, and I overheard the conversation, and he said, you know what? He goes, we're giving the teachers union everything they want, and you know what? They're still complaining. And I'm like, you know exactly. You guys are just bending over, bowing down to them, and giving them everything they want because they say jump, and you say how high.
Is this because of what happened to Tony Bennett? Like, there's always a reason for things. Is it because after the whole Tony Bennett thing, they said, whoa, those guys and girls got organized and, Tony lost an election. And so from then on, it seems like whatever the teachers union wants, they get. And that's so weird coming from a Republican supermajority.
I think it was way before Tony Bennett. I think this is something that's been going on for a long time. I think political power bends and moves according to what unions, lobbyists, big business, put pressure on and what they want and what they don't want. I mean, I talked about this on the House floor in a speech on a separate bill, and I told them that the essence it was a regulatory and abortion bill, and I said that this bill had nothing to do ultimately even with saving babies. It had everything to do with money and politics and elections, and it was just very clear. And the Speaker of the House immediately said, Representative Jacobs, speak to the bill. And I said, I am speaking to the bill.
John Jacob, our guest. Before I let you go, we'll have you back several times before Election Day, and because there's a whole bunch of topics, I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch once session wraps up. But I get asked this quite a bit, and I'll put it to you because you are on the ground with these people. Is there any hope to fix the Republican Party? Can it be fixed to getting back to just the party platform? Just following along the party platform. I don't think that's too much to ask. People do what's in their official party platform. Is there any hope, or are we going to have to look at completely tearing this thing down, starting over, and maybe that involves third parties winning some elections?
Well, I think that is an immensely great question. Talking to people in the House, I think the vast majority of them, I don't believe that they will move back towards a platform. They will go along with what the Republican caucus will do. Now, I think there's a handful of people, if you could get a movement going with Kurt and I think, and if we could expand that, I think there's a handful that would come alongside and start moving further to the right. And I think Kurt and I have already been doing that. By our presence, I think we've dragged they're reluctant, but dragged the Republican Party more to the right. Now, I want to say this very carefully. You're on
the wrong show to say things carefully.
So, I mean, I think you well know that this election, there are mysteriously approximately 25 to 30 constitutionally minded people that are running against incumbent Republicans. Yeah. So that's I'll just say that is not by accident.
We've got about 30 seconds left here. If people want to know more about you and your re-election campaign, because it is important. It's so important that we keep the handful of people who have been willing to stand up for us in there. How can they go about learning more about your re-election campaign?
They can go to my website, voteforjohnjacob.com, and my Facebook political page, John Jacob for State Representative.
Hey, I say this all the time. I know it's gotten back to you, but I want to say it with you here. Thank you for what you have done the past 2 years. You are what a representative should be about. even on things I don't agree with you on, you fight hard for what you believe in and what you believe is best for your constituency. And we need more than again all the time. Oh, you're just negative about everyone. Who do you even like? I like people like you because you're willing to fight. So I want to say that to you for everybody to hear with you being here. Thank you for fighting for the people.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for the encouragement.
93 WIBC. I'm Rob Kendall. Stick around. More in the ways coming up next.